حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك كن سامحا لخصمك تلقى خصمك أحبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك واحتفل بالمودة إنما
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. Welcome to another edition of the Sulaimaan Ravat Show. We tackle different topics here on the program. As our regular viewers would know, we discuss politics, local politics, international politics. We discuss spiritual matters. We look at social matters. And from time to time, we also look at personal development, how to improve yourself as an individual, how to improve yourself as a Muslim, how to optimize on the opportunities, the bounties that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given us, how not to get too stuck in the routine and in the norms of prevalent trends in society, and how to realize that we can do much more with what we have, and we can achieve so much more by making a few changes to our mindset and making a few changes to the way we go about doing things, to our routine, and to the way we approach our lives in general. Now, in this regard, tonight on the program, we're speaking to someone who's benefited people across the globe. His name is Muhammad Faris from the US. He is the founder of the Productive Muslim Company, and he has also written the book, The Productive Muslim, where faith meets productivity. He joins us on the line from the United States via Skype. Muhammad, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair for having me.
I've mentioned there just a little bit about you. Many of our viewers would have read your book, others would not have. I personally have read it a few years ago, and I found it to be very beneficial. May Allah bless you and may Allah reward you. I've even included some of the points in my talks that I've been giving on the Jummah platform and other such platforms. But many would have heard about your trip to South Africa and the workshops that are to be conducted here. But tell us more about yourself. Just give us a bit of background to your life and what you do.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Muhammad Faris. So first, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. So my name is Muhammad Faris. I was born not far from South Africa in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. Grew up in Saudi Arabia and UK, and now living in the US in Texas here. So really my background was, it's funny, it was not, it's kind of one of those things where you plan a lot of plans, right? So my background really was in finance, investment. I used to work for an Islamic bank in Saudi Arabia for 6 years. And at that time, at the same time, I had this, almost like little hobby, you can say, of just writing and connecting topics of productivity with spirituality. And subhanAllah, about 5 years ago, made the decision to basically go and run the company full-time, Productive Company, and just basically go around, do training and coaching and helping individuals and teams live the best version of themselves, spiritually, physically, and socially. Alhamdulillah, so it's been a journey, and really honored that I'm coming to South Africa. It's one of those places that I've always looked forward to come, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given permission for us to come, inshallah ta'ala, next week. So I'm really looking forward and spending time with everyone there, inshallah ta'ala.
Now, tell us about the book. What led to you writing the book? Was the book a starting point in a way that led to the company and then to these workshops and traveling to various parts of the world? Or was there something that transpired prior to that which led to the writing of the book?
Absolutely. This started off as a blog. So about November 2007, subhanAllah, I remember just going to Fajr prayer. And at that time, during those days, I was really into this whole topic of productivity. I was reading all the books of productivity, and I was feeling very busy. I was a student, and I had 2 jobs, and I was doing a lot of activities in the community in the UK, and I felt overwhelmed and kind of stressed, and I wanted to know more about how do you manage your time better and how to just be, how to get things done. So I got into this whole science of productivity. But then after a while, I started asking myself, subhanAllah, this topic of productivity, is there something in our own faith talks about productivity? And I started wanting to sort of go and get that knowledge, inspiration from our own faith, from the Quran, from the Seerah, from the Hadith from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I didn't just, I wanted to really get that knowledge. So it's interesting when you start sort of reading the Quran and reading the Seerah and reading the Hadith from that perspective, you start seeing things like, oh, subhanAllah, like stuff you're reading in the mainstream productivity books and discovering things like, oh my goodness, they're not only in alignment, but actually adds value. There's something that we can contribute as a Muslim civilization and as Islam to the world in terms of productivity, living the best version of yourself. So at that time, started blog, really. Just wanted to capture these thoughts and sharing those thoughts online. And this is 2007 when blogging was a thing and everyone had a little blog going on. And after a while, subhanAllah, by Allah's tawfiq and permission, it just picked up. People started, following. People started, just looking and reading the articles. And I started getting invited to workshops, in different parts of the world. And about 7 years into blogging, I happened to meet a publisher, brother Sharif Al-Banna from Awakening, in Claritas book now. And we spoke about, publishing a book, and that, I realized, okay, it's been 7 years. I think it's time for me to kind of put all this, work that's been the past 7 years and really put it in a book and be like, this is the body of knowledge so far. Of course, as the more you read, the more you learn, the more you grow, the more you realize there's so much more you don't know. And that's just, at least from that perspective, by 2016 was almost a culmination of 7 years of work that led to that book, inshallah ta'ala. And beyond, and once the book was out, and again, the training started coming in, the coaching workshops. That's when I started doing growing the company full time, alhamdulillah.
Now, obviously, if someone wants to read about a topic like productivity, you can go to Google, type in the word, a number of articles will pop up. But the point you mentioned there, that you wanted to at some point look at your own deen and see what did your deen have to say when it comes to productivity. Tell us, how difficult was it? Did you come across one book that pretty much laid the foundation in terms of the Islamic perspective on productivity, or did you have to go much deeper into it and to get that information, to extract that information?
Yeah, again, subhanAllah, this is again from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where a lot of times, the way I've been going around just sort of researching and reading was, I call it scratch your own itch, meaning that sometimes, for example, I was struggling with waking up early. It's like, well, how do I wake up early? So I'm reading all these productivity books about waking up early, but also looking at our own deen and saying, well, how does Islam help us to wake up early? What are the things that, in terms of managing your time and habits and routines and morning and evening routines to help you wake up early? I was struggling with procrastination or struggling with focus management. And I started saying, well, how does our deen help us tackle this? So it's almost like you honestly, sometimes I wrote the book for myself first and then everyone else, where, you realize there's certain things you're kind of struggling with. You're like, well, if we sincerely believe that Islam is the last divine message to mankind, then every good, every khair, every source, every guidance will be in the Quran, in the Sunnah of Prophet ﷺ. And it's just a matter of us for us to go and and find it and learn from it. And alhamdulillah, I've been blessed with scholars and teachers and asking people who kind of sometimes recommend a hadith or say a story or share snippets of the seerah, and slowly a picture starts forming by Allah's permission, tawfiq. And again, I feel like we have not even scratched the surface. And I say we because honestly, the work you do and the work that people in this field is now, alhamdulillah, a lot of Muslims are engaged. The idea of how do we really harness the and make Islam more relevant and make Islam more, harness the power that's within our faith. We sometimes compartmentalize our spirituality. We think, okay, alhamdulillah, I go masjid, I do my afkar, I do my Quran, I do my fasting, my zakah and hajj. And we don't see the relevance of the impact it has on you living the best version of yourself. And I hope that, the work we do for Muslim and the work you do and the work that others do, that is really helping show the relevance and connection and the power that not only is about us slapping an Islamic term to a mainstream. Sometimes, people like Islamic productivity or Islamic personal development. That's not the idea. The idea is really cultivate a whole paradigm understanding of a topic. For example, whether it's leadership or productivity or communication, decision making, there's a whole paradigm, there's a whole worldview from an Islamic perspective that challenges, that adds value, that contributes to the world. And I think that's important for us to have these conversations and not feel inferior or feel like we're just importing, but really we're actually adding value because we have the last divine message to mankind, alhamdulillah.
Now, after you wrote the book, what was the kind of response that you got from Muslims and non-Muslims?
Alhamdulillah, by Allah's permission, tawfiq, really is one of those heartwarming things when you publish something and you send it out to the world. You have no idea what the reaction will be. but hearing stories of people whose lives have changed. A lot of times I hear the words, it's practical, it's simple, easy to read, easy to follow, easy to implement. It's not too theoretical. People said, for somebody yesterday, I had the honor of speaking of two people who read the book, and they said that it just transformed the way they think, it transformed the way they act. So that was from the Muslim perspective, but also surprisingly, from non-Muslims. And yesterday I had a podcast interview with a non-Muslim podcaster who runs something called the 5 a.m. Miracle, which is very sort of Christian-based, about waking up early. And he was very interested in the Muslim perspective. So a lot of times, having conversations with other faith groups about how does your faith help you live the best version of yourself, and having the Muslim voice out there has been very, very, alhamdulillah, by Allah's permission, very rewarding. So it's been both. And I think this world now is looking for this set of mindsets, values, rituals that helps them, live a more cohesive, balanced life. People are tired, people are stressed, people have, there's a lot of challenges of living the modern life and living what I call the hustle culture that we kind of live in right now. There's a need for us to promote what we coined the Muslim, the barakah culture, idea of this balance. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala centric. It's not about your ego. It's akhirah focused. It's about focusing on those small consistent actions. It's about fulfilling your huquq of other people, not just about self-entitlement. So all these concepts the world needs. And really, one of the, I guess I will say my regrets perhaps is when I wrote the book, I wrote for a Muslim audience. But I feel like, subhanAllah, maybe I could have wrote it for everybody and become much more inclusive. Perhaps that's a different topic for a different book, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah, I can actually, echo those same sentiments about it being very easy to read and very simple in the thoughts that it was conveying. May Allah bless you. And hopefully that will be a project for another book, taking the message of productivity from an Islamic perspective to a non-Muslim audience. We are talking to Muhammad Faris. He is the founder of the Productive Muslim Company. He has also authored the book, The Productive Muslim, Where Faith Meets Productivity. We take a break. When we come back, inshallah, we continue the discussion.
Inshallah.
Welcome back. So we are in conversation with Muhammad Faris. He is the founder of the Productive Muslim Company. He's also the author of the book, The Productive Muslim, Where Faith Meets Productivity. He's talking to us via Skype from the United States. Now, Muhammad, prior to the break, we spoke quite a bit about the book. Let's talk a little bit about the company. When did you found the company? When did you start the company? When was it founded? And what was the objective? What were you looking to achieve beyond the book via the company?
Absolutely. So the company was founded in 2011. So after blogging about 3-4 years, I realized that I was getting invited to workshops and training. I thought, well, let me just register something and actually make it official. And SubhanAllah, one of the things that when we started at productivemuslim.com, we made a rule that we will not accept donations. A lot of people say, should we just make this like a nonprofit and just fund donations? And I said, as a productive Muslim, I don't want to be begging, right? I don't want to be asked for donations. I want it to be a self-sustainable, independent company that offers professional services. And secondly, I wanted it to really target the professional crowd, the young professional crowd from the 25 to let's say 45 plus, where people who normally are not targeted. There's a lot of programs for youth, a lot of program for perhaps seniors, but that age group where people are working, people have children, people are busy, people are overwhelmed, or stressed. That age group, I felt that was underserved. I wanted to really work with that age group and really help them make them realize, because this is the same age group that attends a lot of these workshops with it's like John Maxwell and David Allen and Tony Robbins and all these sort of big personal development gurus. So but they don't find a very powerful alternative from an Islamic faith perspective. And really, when we started the company, initially, honestly, was we wanted just to find a way for us to convey the message through training and workshops and doing retreats and coaching programs. But as we had our 10th year anniversary last year, and it hit us that over this last 10 years, we were just setting up the foundation. Because right now, really, our vision is to promote this idea of promoting what we call barakah culture among individuals and teams globally. The idea of barakah culture is that sometimes we are, like I said earlier on, we are so attached to this idea of this script of success, which means work hard, keep working hard, and be attached to results, be very self-centered. It's all about your career. Your work is your identity, and you live to work basically, and then family and spirituality and everything else is kind of comes second in place. And we will, well, this is not the way of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the seerah of Prophet taught us of how to live our life. There's a way for us to, yes, you can still work hard. Yes, you can still do good work, but make sure that you give each one the help. Make sure you do live a balanced lifestyle. Make sure you be the best version of yourself, spiritually, physically, and socially. And I think this is where the message is. So with now our company really geared towards that. So we do that through online programs, we do that through offline workshops. We work with companies, with organizations, with banks, with Islamic banks specifically, that help kind of promote this new culture, new values, where instead of just trying to import values to our own work culture and work environment, really go from within. People already know this stuff. They already have the spirituality. They know the concepts. Just about activating it in the workplace, realize, wow, I can now see the link between Islam and my personal development, as well as my professional development. So that's where we are at the moment, alhamdulillah.
You made reference early on to personalities like John Maxwell. Others would be familiar with Robin Sharma and the like. The fact that they are so popular these days and that people flock in big numbers to attend their workshops, to read their books, what does it tell us about the modern day mindset, the modern day lifestyle?
Yeah. So the modern day lifestyle, one of the challenges of modern day lifestyle is because, religion, or religion as religion has been set aside. People are very skeptical of religion. People have lost faith in religion and they find that it's archaic, it's old. They blame religion for the difficulties, all the issues they face in life. They don't see the value of religion. But at the same time, as human beings, we're naturally spiritual people. We're naturally people who want to learn, to grow, to find transcendence, to find purpose, find meaning. So what these big guru speakers have done is most of them come from a very faith background. Like John Maxwell has a very, very Christian background. Robin Sharma has a very sort of Buddhist background. I know even Tony Robbins has a very sort of Buddhist background. So they take this faith concept, they take these traditions, but they kind of mainstreamed it and they try to make it sound like very applicable, universal to all. And they tap into this human need for meaning, human need for purpose, human need for growth, human need that like that to of hope and transcendence, and really sold the dream. And people are flocking in thousands. And our argument for the Muslim companies is saying that yes, there's some good, there's some value. I don't want to put down the work they've been doing, but we have everything we need in our own faith, and I don't see this from a very cliche perspective. We can prove it. And this is what the company does. We actually do the research. They actually show the scientific research as well as the faith, just like this is how we're told to live our life. This is what the latest science has come to prove this is the best way to live a life. So, instead of feeling that inferior, instead of feeling like I have to look elsewhere to how to live a better version of myself, look at our own faith, look at the role model we have in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the Sahaba, look at the guidance in the Quran, and there's so much there to help us live and be better versions of ourselves, and actually really fulfill our role of being true abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and true khalifa on this earth for him. So I think this is where we need to make a shift, where, with all due respect to all these personal development gurus, in the end, it's their own thinkings, their limited understandings, own, a translation of their own backgrounds. But since we have this beautiful tradition, we have this amazing, the last divine message to mankind, if we truly believe in it, there's so much there. We need to just, decode it and understand it and see how relevant it is to our daily life, inshallah.
Now, we're talking about productivity. That's prominent in the title of the book. It's prominent in the title of your company. But how would we define it according to so-called Western standards or modern day standards or definitions, and then more importantly from the Islamic perspective?
Absolutely. So if you Google the word productivity, the standard definition is output over input, meaning how much output you produce for the input you have. And this is a very sort of industrial revolution definition of productivity. And Frederick Taylor, the father of the modern scientific management, he started this whole idea of in factories you can test the productivity of machines, you can check the productivity of the plant, but human beings are so unpredictable. So he was very stressed about how can we control human beings so that we maximize output and minimize input, and hence we have things like the 9-to-5 job, the 1 hour break, the very, very almost like machine-like drive, trying to turn human beings into machines. Now, I'm actually against that definition because, as I said, it just turns human beings into machines. We're not machines. We're human beings. We have souls. We have ruh. We have qalb. We have aql. We have lives. We have needs. We have family. We have needs. So, so the way we define a productive Muslim is productivity is how much energy you have times how much focus you have times how much time you have. So think about it this way. If I have no energy, if I'm tired all the time, whether it's spiritual energy, physical energy, or even social energy from those around me, then I cannot be productive. Doesn't matter how much focus time I have, I just cannot be productive. If I have energy, I'm sort of bouncing up the walls, I'm doing really good, but I'm just so distracted, I have no focus, then again, doesn't matter how much energy I have, I cannot be productive. And if I have both energy and focus, but I'm overwhelmed, I'm so busy, then I won't have any time. And basically, I don't have time, then I cannot be productive. But then the question is, well, productive towards what? And normally we say, if I'm talking to mainstream audience, well, to being productive, energy, focus, and time towards a beneficial goal. Because someone's sitting there playing video games for 16 hours straight, they've got energy, they got focus, and boy, they got time. But it's not towards a beneficial pursuit. So we don't call that productive. It has something beneficial. And in our own faith, well, there's nothing more beneficial than us basically working towards the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards, following the sunnah of Prophet and living a life which is the best version of ourselves across all our roles, spiritual, physical, and social, inshallah. So that's the definition we use of productive Muslim.
Earlier on, you made use of, or you made reference to terms which every Muslim is familiar with, Abd, Khalifa. But do we understand it as we ought to understand it as Muslims? What do these terms truly mean, and how do they link to the concept of productivity?
Absolutely. When we do our masterclass, one of the first sessions we talk about this idea, what does it mean to be the best version of yourself, right? Because we also use a tagline, being the best version of yourself. Well, what does that really mean? Because if you look at the self, the nafs, right, we can define it. Some people define the nafs as self in terms of their work. Some people define it in terms of their family. Some people define it in terms of their country of origin or their race or their culture. But really, the definition of, if you want to define being the best version of yourself, actually being the best abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's the definition, that's the identity that's going to be helpful for you in this life and the next. Because every other definition is temporary. Every other definition, your work, you'll retire eventually. Your family, they might be with you, they might leave you. Your culture, your country, who knows what happens to it. But the idea of your abd, you're always being abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And once you adopt the mindset that I am an abd, I am a slave, and I want us to really understand, you are a slave. We use the term servant almost as a euphemism. No, use the word slave. I know it has negative connotations in the modern context, but you are a slave to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the most honorable title a person can have. So being a slave of a master, which means what? It means that he will, I need to make sure that I obey the master in every small and big decisions. I can't just live the life the way I'm looking at. For example, if I'm sitting down there and just watching YouTube and Facebook for like hours straight, am I being a slave, or am I being the best abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? So it's almost like internalizing the fact that you are a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then that has impact in the small choices you make every single day. From what time do you wake up? What do you eat? How do you speak to your family? How do you leave the house? How you enter the house? How do your work you do? Every moment, every decision, every choice is dictated by you being, these choices and decisions of someone who's an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the workshop we have at Productive Muslim, our goal is to make that transition. Because like I said, we know this concept, but then you start translating, well, if you want to become the best abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are the choices. These are the smart choices you got to make with your energy, with your focus, and your time to live the best version of yourself as an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and as his Khalifa on this earth.
We are talking to Muhammad Faris. He is the founder of the Productive Muslim Company. He is also the author of the book, The Productive Muslim. It's time for a break again. When we come back, we continue this very interesting and enlightening discussion. Welcome back. We're talking to Muhammad Faris. He is the author of the book, The Productive Muslim, Where Faith Meets Productivity. He's talking to us live from the US via Skype this evening. Yes, his tour to South Africa is causing a lot of excitement, mashallah, and the discussion has been a very riveting one, a very interesting one. Mohammed, continuing, right, we speak a lot about the modern day lifestyle, contemporary trends, and that kind of thing. It is, in many ways, I suppose, also the age of distraction. For you, what are some of the primary factors, if I can put it that way, in the modern lifestyle that kind of negatively impact on productivity of humans in general and Muslims in specific?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest challenges, of course, when it comes to productivity is we live in a very, in a very distracted world. We're very, very distracted. In fact, when I asked the question to my audience, how many minutes can you focus on a single task without being distracted? The best answer I get is 5 minutes, right? They're like, maybe if if I like the task, maybe 20 minutes or half an hour, 1 hour. But it really is very tough, right? Right now, I'm sure if as your viewers are listening to this, they're probably checking their phones, they're probably talking to somebody else. It's just we're very, very, very distracted. But I always ask people, why are we distracted? Sometimes we'd like to blame technology, right? We say, oh, because of our phones, because of internet, because of people around us. But I actually say that it's not because of these technologies. It's actually, yes, these technologies are designed to be distracting, but it's because we actually enjoy the distraction. We actually are addicted to distraction. When you get that new message, you get that notification, when we see all those unread messages in our WhatsApp, there's a dopamine effect, right? There's a chemical release in our brain. There's a surprise factor. Oh, I don't know who's messaged me. I don't know who's sent me. Oh, my friend just said this to me. I got a nice little joke, a nice little video. So that constant drip of this dopamine effect in our brains makes checking our phone, makes being distracted very, very addictive. A huge addiction basically. So the challenge for us is, well, how do we gain control? How do you gain control of our focus? And during the workshop, I always say to people, I'm not going to say turn off your phones and take your phone away or try to go something drastic, because like anyone who's got any addiction, you got to work with them slowly with it. The first thing is really again understand the idea of being an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And being an abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that this is the way that the idea like taqwa comes in, right? Being God conscious, being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you're just mindlessly going through Facebook and mindlessly going through Instagram and mindlessly going through YouTube, then again, are you having taqwa? Are you practicing God consciousness? That's a very powerful topic right there. Second is to slowly start having certain hours in the day where you have some disconnect time, whether it's early in the morning or in the evening. Ideally, as soon as you wake up, try not to check your phone. Use a simple basic alarm as your alarm. Don't use your phone as your alarm. And have these hours in the day where you're just disconnected so that you can center yourself. So you can, focus in Fajr, focus in Tahajjud, focus in Quran, focus on Adhkar. And then if you want later on to check your phone and see what's happening, go ahead and do that. But the idea is that being in control, like being abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not the abd of your phone. There's a joke that said that once a man asked, when the telephone was introduced, they said, how does it work? So the person said, well, when it rings, you go and pick it up. Because, just like a servant, right? When a master, sort of in those days, old days, when the master used to kind of ring a bell, the servant used to come and pick it up. Well, guess what? Nowadays we do that. As soon as the phone rings or pings, we're the first one to jump and pick it up. And that's something to think about. That's something to realize, like, wow, are we abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is this the way of abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should act? So yes, there's a lot of distractions out there, but the good news that you can be in control is just by you making those conscious decisions, making those smart choices, which inshallah ta'ala will share in the workshops, in the book as well. It's doable. And I've seen that transformation happen. It's not impossible, it's not hard. It is very, very doable, inshallah.
When we talk about productivity, what are the key areas that usually come into focus? In this discussion so far, you've made mention of the definition of productivity, a sense of purpose, knowing what is the purpose of your creation, what is your purpose in life, abdiyat, and you being a slave of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. I think nutrition will also feature. What are some of the key areas of focus when we look at this concept of productivity?
Absolutely. So the way we look at it, productivity from three spheres. One is the spiritual sphere, and the idea is understanding how spirituality, how does the mindsets and the values and the rituals of Islam help us live this productive lifestyle. So mindsets such as taqwa, mindsets such as being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mindsets such as sabr, right? These are mindsets, these are very, very powerful mindsets that help us live the best version of ourselves. But also, what are the values? The values such as rahmah, values such as adl, values such as amana, these values also help us live a productive lifestyle. And finally, rituals, the salah and the fasting and zakah and hajj, these also have impact on us how we live our productivity. So that's on the spiritual front. Now, on the physical stuff front, this idea is how do you manage your fitness and your food and your sleep? These are the big three topics because food. And here, when I talk about food, I'm not talking about health-wise. People think, oh, food, okay, no, I know if I eat fried food, I might have diabetes or might have a heart problem 20, 30 years from the road. Now I'm saying the food you eat for breakfast will have impact on your productivity for the next few hours. The food you eat for lunch will have impact on your productivity for the next sort of, for the rest of the day. So really the impact of how does your nutrition actually impact your productivity? How does fitness, again, when we talk about fitness, we talk about how we exercise so we can look good, so we can flex our muscles in the gym. I'm like, it's not about that. Your fitness has an impact on how you perform, how your brain performs, and really make sure that your brain performs in a very, very powerful way. And finally, sleep, which is a huge topic as well. How does sleep manage your productivity as well? I'm sorry, my children just banged on the door.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Let me just calm them down a little bit. I'll be right back.
I think what we'll do is we'll take a break at this juncture. When we come back, inshallah, we'll do a wrap with Mohammed Faris.
Absolutely.
It's been a very interesting discussion. Time to wrap up, but just a few points that I want to cover with Mohammed Faris before we let him go. Mohammed, just before the break, you had a bit of a unscheduled interruption, if I can put it that way, the kids coming. But in a way that also talks about the nature of life. Productivity doesn't mean that everything is, perfectly planned to the T, that everything will run according to schedule. It's about how you deal with these unexpected things.
Absolutely. One of the challenges is, one of the things that inspires me in the life of Prophet Muhammad is how, this is the most influential man in history, the most successful man in history, the most, quote unquote, productive man in history. And if you look at his daily, we have an article on the website called The Daily Routine of the Prophet Muhammad. And really, of course, not a routine in the way we understand routine, but just the things he used to do on a daily basis. One thing you notice as you read his daily seerah, the stuff he used to do every single day, especially in the Medinan period, is how fluid he was. He was not, he would be walking towards doing something and a little girl would come and tug on his shirt and ask him, Ya Rasulullah, come away this way. And he would just go off. He didn't say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I'm trying to save humanity. I can't talk to you. He was actually very fluid and at the same time very purposeful. And I think that's the challenge we have. This is what's called having productivity, having mind like water, where yes, you have a plan, yes, you have a structure, yes, you have goals in life, but not getting too hung up, not getting too stressed out when things don't go your way. And we call this in Productive Muslim the idea of having a gardener mindset versus a carpenter mindset. A gardener, plants the seeds, works hard, plows the land, but can't guarantee the fruit, right? The fruit is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the carpenter wants to build a chair or table or a cupboard, really wants to make sure things are exactly how they have in mind. And if you go through life as a gardener, you actually live much more happily. You think about the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of the prophets like Nuh alayhi salam, who spent 950 years calling his people, and he didn't see the fruits really. I mean, his people didn't believe in him. Only a few people believed in him. So even though he worked so hard, he didn't see the results. And that's a challenge for people who want to be productive is, don't be attached to the results. Don't be attached to the outcome. Focus on intentions, focus on the hard work, focus on you taking the asbab, taking having the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and making dua and doing your best in your knowledge, but don't be attached to the results and having what we call mind like water. So it's a challenging concept, and you probably, some things that you learn as you grow, and I guess it's something that you need to implement and think about as well as part of being productive as well.
Now, obviously, in your line of work, Mohammed, you read a lot. You probably follow a lot in terms of what others are doing, non-Muslims are saying when it comes to productivity. How often do you pick up on them actually espousing that which is enshrined in the teachings of our deen? How much has Islam taught the world about productivity, in other words?
So it's interesting when I first started reading like the 7 Habits or Getting Things Done or any of the books of productivity. Initially, of course, you have this sort of you see this knowledge out there, space out there. You go, oh my goodness, there's a lot of research, a lot of good work out there. But then you start going to your own faith and start questioning, right? Because you sometimes think, is this the life you want? For example, very classic example. Tim Ferriss, the one who, nothing related to me, I'm not his cousin or anything, but Tim Ferriss, the one who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. Right, it's a very famous productivity book. People love it. People find, oh, well, how can I only work 4 hours and still be productive? And he was all in this whole productivity space. But 10 years down the road, now if you follow his newsletters and work, he's actually started quoting Muslim scholars and started quoting, realizing that maybe it's not just about results and outcome and being productive. Maybe it's about the heart. And I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on here? Tim Ferriss talk about the heart? Like, this guy is the most like productivity guy you ever know. And here he is coming to realization there's more to life than just knocking off your to-do list and knocking off your email list or getting your inbox down to zero. So I think, there is this, as the world is sort of becoming more mature in this idea of productivity and self-development. For example, there's an article in The Guardian about time management. And it said that, people saying, well, what's the point of time management if we're going to die, right? And they don't have answers for that. They're like, well, if I'm going to die anyway, what's the point of being more efficient and being able to knock off a task in 2 hours versus 3 hours? And for them, it's like an existential question. And it's almost like they're thirsty for that knowledge, the knowledge of the unseen. What happens after we die? Why does it matter to be productive in this world? If people randomly die, young people, old people, we never know, right? It can get very depressing for someone who just hasn't got that akhirah perspective on things. So I think Islam has a lot to offer, and really it's a call for people like yourselves and authors and people who really realize that the world needs Islam. We need to get off our inferiority complex, realize we have so much to offer, a deep knowledge to offer, but we just need to, start to codify it and, translate it in a modern context and share it with the world beyond ourselves. And I think this is where the challenge would be for us for the next decades or two, inshallah.
Inshallah. Any other books in the pipeline, Mohammed?
Well, there is one, inshallah. I think right now our focus is on the idea of barakah and barakah culture versus hustle culture. Really, this is becoming a topic of number one priority. So we did just finalize the book proposal, inshallah. I'm talking to publishers about it. Once we get the book publishers board, I'm praying by Allah's permission, tawfiq, hopefully next year or two, we have a book out on this idea of really going this barakah. Because barakah is such a beautiful, deep topic, and it has a lot of implications in terms of how we think about productivity and how we, when you have results beyond expectations, right? That's barakah. How do you harness power of barakah in your own life? Something that we learned from our fathers and grandfathers, right? I'm sure even in South Africa, the story of South African Muslims and how they flourished, I'm sure it's a story of barakah. And I think that's something that I'm coming to learn from all of you, inshallah, as much as share, inshallah.
Finally, then, your first trip to South Africa, what are your perceptions of the country? What are your expectations?
I am just excited. I've been thinking of South Africa for the past 5 years. So it's subhanAllah, by Allah's permission, that everything worked out beautifully for this trip. So I'm really looking forward to meet everybody. I'm coming here almost like a clean slate. I have no perceptions, no views. I'm just coming to learn, absorb. So I'm looking forward to just meeting and talking to people and really experiencing South Africa to the fullest. So I'm glad I'll be in 4 cities: Pretoria, Durban, Cape Town, and Johannesburg. So it's going to be an exciting trip, inshallah, and Allah put barakah in it, and to really hopefully be to make, because a conversation starter. I'm not here I don't expect people to, life-changing a workshop, but I'm really hoping that at least I, plant something in South Africa, and inshallah ta'ala, everyone there will take that plant and nurture it and really, take things to a whole new level, inshallah ta'ala.
Finally, Mohammed, for those who, for whatever reason, cannot make it to any of your workshops, obviously the book is there. I mean, it's on Amazon. I've purchased it there. It may be available on other platforms. But how else can they tap into your knowledge and experience on this particular topic?
Absolutely. More than welcome to join us at productivemuslim.com. We have a mailing list you can sign up for, where we send you, first of all, our manifesto, which talks about the 10 habits, 10 things you got to do to live the best version of yourself. And then from there, we do publish articles regularly. And for those of you on social media, even though I'm not a big fan, but unfortunately, you got to do. So you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube. We post every now and then. Again, trying hopefully that people get off Facebook and off YouTube and to do something beneficial with their time, inshallah ta'ala. So yeah, so follow us on a social media, Productive Muslim, or on website, productive.com, inshallah ta'ala. And really be honored to work with anybody, inshallah.
Inshallah, Mohammed, the discussion has been very fascinating, very interesting. I benefited tremendously from your book, and I really feel honored to have had the opportunity to chat to you on this platform. All the best, not only in terms of your visit to South Africa, but in all of your efforts and endeavors. May Allah bless you, and may Allah take you from strength to strength.
Jazakum Allah khair, barakallahu feekum, may Allah reward you and bless you inshallah ta'ala, and to everyone who's listening, watching, may Allah reward you all and bless you all. Jazakum Allah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Well, that was Muhammad Faris. He's the founder of the Productive Muslim Company, and he's also the author of the book, The Productive Muslim, where faith meets, where faith meets productivity, where faith meets productivity. I would really encourage you, if there's one book that I've really enjoyed and really benefited from and really tapped into and drawn from in order to be able to deliver my own talks and discourses in recent years, it's been this particular book. I would really encourage you, sign up for that newsletter, get this book, read it, absorb it, benefit from it, and share it with others. Until next week, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وامنح الناس حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك كن سموحا لخصمك تلقى خصمك أحبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك واحتفل بالمودة وامنح الناس حبك بيض الله قلبك بيض الله قلبك جميل المساعي وامنح الناس حبك